We are going to start a panel about writing India in Indian languages with Ms. Madhuranthakam, Narendra, Paramita, Satpathy, with our moderator Purnima Tammireddy. Purnima Tammireddy, a techie by profession, is a writer, translator, publisher, primarily working in Telugu. She co-founded Pushkatam.net, a website for book reviews in 2009, and Elami Publications, an independent Telugu book publishing house, in 2022. Her published works include a short story collection titled Emotional Pregnancy 2022, Telugu translations of Mantos Sia Hashiya and Amrita Pritam's Pinjar. Her work in progress projects include translation of Telangana Arms Movement leader Mallu Swarajyam's memoir into English. She was a writer in residence at the Sangam House International Writer Residency in 2022.
Hello everybody. We would like to start the session. Thank you all for making time for this particular session on Indian writing in Indian languages. So I would like to introduce our panel first. I would start with Paramita Satpathy. She is a bilingual writer who writes in Odia and English. Her publications include short story collections, novels, a novella, and poetry collections. Her short story collection, Prapti, which is translated into English as Boundless Movement, received the Sahitya Academy Award for 2016. And her recent novel in Odia, Abhipret Kal, A Time Desired, based on the last part of freedom struggle in Odisha, received the Sarala Puraskar for 2021 and also shortlisted for the first Bank of Baroda Rashtra Bhasha Samman. She is an officer of the Indian Revenue Service. Welcome ma'am, welcome to HLF and welcome to this panel. Madhuranthakam Narendra is a Telugu writer and academic. His novel Manodharma Paragam received the Sahitya Academy Award for the year 2022. His other publications include 6 short story collections, 4 novels, 2 plays, and several critical essays. He has also edited more than 15 books and presented research papers in more than 100 seminars. He is the recipient of several awards and honors, including the Madras Telugu Academy Award, Kada Award, New Mexico University Reconocimiento, Telugu University Award, Tana and Ata Awards, and Ravindranath Tagore Puraskaram. He retired as a professor of English and principal of SV University College, Tirupati. So to give a brief introduction, as I said in the introduction note just now, both Paramita ma'am and Narendra sir has written award-winning books, and today I would like to start the conversation with those books. So how did you happen to come up with the theme of that book, and how did you execute it, and what was the process of writing that book? Sir, would you like to go first?
So good afternoon to all of you. So the book for which the award was given is titled Manodharma Paragam. It is a book on the music and the place where the Carnatic music flourished, and with the people who took up the torch of this music from the ancestors to the modern days for more than 5 or 6 centuries. They are the Devadasis. So this is Manodharma Paragam means, so the Carnatic music is considered Manodharma Sangeetam. That means that the way that a person sings depends upon the mind of the man, upon the manassu of the person. But the book proclaims that the mind is a non-entity without a body, and the body is the most important thing, and the circumstances which shaped the artist are to be reckoned with in the foremost. So that is the basic theme there. And in fact, this is a book in a way which I didn't write, but it made me to write. So I belong to a place called In fact, it is a kind of an invention for me. It is very much like tracing out my own roots and to find my own ancestry also. So I did it unconsciously, but the novel became a kind of um, a kind of an instrument to look into me and to the place where I was born. And so I was very much interested in the music, Carnatic music. In fact, I don't know anything about the music, but I'm a good listener. So I'm very fond of music, but I don't know the reason for this fondness, which I realized afterwards. So I was very much interested in reading the biographies of the artists, mostly the musicians. Quite interestingly, 5 years or 6 years back, many of the biographies on the famous musicians of Carnatic music came out. There are more than 5 or 6 biographies on M.S. Subbulakshmi and 3 or 4 biographies on Bengaluru Nagaratnamma and 2 biographies on Bala Saraswati and so on. When I read those books, I was very much curious of a number of minor characters who come to the scene, play a major role, then disappear. They too have their own lives, but they were not cared. They played significant role in the world of the music and in the lives of those great musicians, but they were not given importance. I realized that their voices were hushed up, and I wanted to give a voice to them. So that's the germ of this novel. And when I began to make the characters to speak to themselves or to the reader, they began to reveal a number of things. It was a kind of a revelation to me. They told me many things about many other things, and it is thus this novel has become not merely the life of the musicians, not merely the history of the Devadasis. It became a kind of a critique on the man-woman relationships, on the relationship between the art and the artist, and on the marriage as an institution, on several other interesting things. So that was a kind of a revelation to me. And moreover, it made me to realize that I belong to a place called Tondanadu. It is completely different from Rayalaseema. It is brought under the umbrella of Rayalaseema, but it has a different culture. I realized that this culture has to be revived and to revised. It is a bilingual place where Tamil and Telugu went hand in hand with each other. And so when they were friendly, great music, great literature flourished, and the emergence of the linguistic based states proved to be a bane to Telugu also. So it is not easy to bring the entire Telugu speaking public who live from Kanyakumari to Nagpur within a small state. It is impossible, and it was a great loss. It is more a loss to Tondanadu, and it has made me to realize myself and to realize my own roots, which go deeper into the soil, which has a different culture. It is a long story, so let me conclude.
Yeah, ma'am's book is, Paramita's book is this Boundless Movement, translated into English.
A very good afternoon to all of you. I know that session after the birds and the session after lunch is very, very sleepy, but I am still thankful that you all are interested and have been sitting here. Well, I write in a foreign language to you. I write basically in Odia, which is so different and so different in writing, but you know, in the true feeling, the vow, I mean the kind of content it has, it's definitely not very different from what you have been reading. Well, this book, which was been published in 2012 and got me the Sahitya Academy Award in 2016, is titled in Odia as Prapti. Prapti is a Sanskrit word, understandable, and the Hindi translation is Prapti, and English is a boundless moment. This is basically an ensemblement of 10 long stories, you can say novellas, on the journeys of women, women of different strata, women meeting their eventualities, the way they live their life. It's not very short story for that matter, but a long narration of the kind of life they have lived for. And the stories of women, a mother who is, not recovered from the loss of an adolescent son, even she's old and she's dying. And there is a queen who at the pinnacle of power doesn't want to be in power and leaves everything for pursuing, going to the wilderness and pursuing creativity. There is a small young girl of 9 raised in a slum, rearing pigs, the kind of humanity, kind of compassion she's having in her heart. And there is a bunch of young adults, girls, the way they teased another young adult who is mentally challenged. And there is a love story of a platonic kind of love who stayed with the woman and the man all through their life. So it goes on like that, 10 different stories and 10 different journeys of women. Writings on women have taken a real good turn in Indian writing. Many of you must have read Volga, and she's a good friend of mine. So I would not say that my stories are feministic, but I am a feminist because I think of women and think that they should also be having a voice. So it's basically voices of women, their journey, their struggle, what they want to do, and freedom in their own eyes, own meaning, freedom, what is freedom to them, and how they lived their life. So thanks to Sahitya Academy, because the book, which is basically written in Odia, has been published in Hindi, English, Telugu probably is very shortly, Tamil, and then Kannada, Punjabi, Hindi, Rajasthani, many languages, because Sahitya Academy gets it translated. So I guess that is what I would like to speak about the book. Maybe if you read sometime, or maybe for a better discussion, in-depth discussion with the stories, it will be more, you will be more comfortable with it. Thank you so much.
Thank you. So incidentally, both of you have written about women and their lives and the situations they are in. So I would like to now ask a question about the choice of language. I know that both your parents are also quite accomplished and eminent writers in Odia and Telugu. And but there is also this discussion that Indian language, there is one discussion that Indian realities do not come well out in English, and that is why it should be written in Indian languages only. That is one argument and one narrative that goes about. But there is also a parallel reality that we are seeing, that anything that is written in English or getting translated into English only gets attention, whereas all the rich literary culture we are having and the stories that are coming in the Indian languages are not getting that sort of focus. So I would like to ask you about your journey in the language, like how you started writing in Telugu, in Odia, and how do you see the entire literary culture of your language?
So writing comes quite naturally in the mother tongue, and one has to write in one's own mother tongue. But the way that the Indian literatures, or else the works of the Indian literature is recognized by the other world is an important issue to be discussed at this juncture. In fact, when you look at the Indian literature as a whole, it hasn't received the due recognition from the other world. The only exception seems to be Rabindranath Tagore. So Tagore was the only writer who was widely translated and widely read. And there are two important problems in the contemporary context. The first thing is there is no proper critical analysis in Indian literature. The second problem is there is no proper English translations. Critical analysis is a problem because I think there is no such a thing called objective criticism in Indian literature itself. In Indian, if you look at the Indian aesthetics and the Indian critical tradition, you can find out that the people are known to defy the writer. The writer is worshipped. So our Valmiki, Vyasa, Kalidasa, most of them have become gods to us. And we don't have objective criticism as far as these works are considered. Even in the case of Tagore, there is no objective criticism, because of which he is subjected to many kinds of criticism. A Bengali writer says that he is a third-rate dramatist, whereas a British critic says that he is as great as Shakespeare and Sophocles. So what is the reason for this? The reason is simple. The Western man was Orientalized and the Eastern man got Westernized. So there is no proper critical paraphernalia in India. And because of this lack of critical analysis, even Tagore has become a victim. And the other important victim is Sarath. I recognize that as far as my knowledge goes, Sarath is as great as Dostoevsky and Tolstoy. But we couldn't properly introduce him to the other world because of the reason that there is no proper translations. The translations were not given importance here. And there is another problem here that we have to look at it carefully. In translation, one has to get the work translated into one's own mother tongue. So, when Constant Garnett translated Dostoevsky and Tolstoy, she was translating the Russian works from Russia to English. It was comfortable to them. So, when the English people translated even Marquez from Spanish, they were comfortable. They could communicate it a proper way. Whereas in India, we don't have the Britishers who come here and to get these works translated into their mother tongue. Here, our Indians have to learn English and they have to translate it. And they all said and done, with all due respect to all these translators, they could not properly translate because they don't belong to that language. It is only learnt one, but not it has come to them naturally. Because of that, there are no proper translations. As a result of that, all great masters of Indian literature suffer. It is not a danger. It is not a danger to the Indian writers, I think, but it is a danger. It is a threat to the world literature also, because they don't have the access to all these great writers because of the lack of translations. So when we look at these two facts, we can realize the contemporary situation, and Telugu is not different from that. Unfortunately, there are many masters in Telugu literature, but they are not properly translated, properly studied. And remember, whenever translation happens, they translate only some mediocre books. I'm sorry to tell that. As a result of that, the other world could not get access to the great masters. That's the problem of.
I completely endorse what Narendra ji said right now. He talked about English translation of very good work going, out of the Indian boundaries. I'll speak about the inside of India story. I am a writer from Odisha, and I have a readership very much inside the physical, geographical boundary of the state. Very rarely I get a call from Chhattisgarh or Vizag or bordering West Bengal and Jharkhand that I have radio story and liked it, whatever. So the evolution and spread of any language of any literature of any language depends on the acceptance of readers, critical evaluation, as he said, and kind of appreciation from the readers. So some of the Indian languages are little lesser fortunate than the others. Come to Malayalam literature for that matter. First, that language has been read by Tamils, most of the Tamils and the Kannadas, part of Maharashtra also, and huge readership. And inside Kerala, lot of people read. Most of them read. Yes, they are reading Sarah Joseph, K.R. Meera, Benjamin, yes, I mean, I'm talking about the current and present writers. They read Takaji Sivsankar Pillai also very well. You know, they even rickshawalas also. They know where Takaji lived and what he, I mean, maybe one or stories of his he must have read. So that kind of consciousness in readers is there in that language. And another good thing, along with the huge readership in this small state, thickly populated though and very cultured people, they have a kind of, interested themselves, both the publishers and the readers, to translate it into English, basically. So it has come to us. Most of us have read some good work of Tamil literature. So in Odisha, in Odia, we have very rich heritage and tradition of writing. Very good work has been done, but unfortunately we don't have much translation of that. We have a professor in English, Sachidanand Mohanty, who has really translated some very good work of, earlier period women writers of Odisha, which we otherwise would have left unread or hidden. So some other people like him should come out and take it beyond the boundaries of Odisha. And as I said, in Hindi, though Hindi also doesn't get more translation, but because of the sheer number, so many states read it, so at least the number of spread is there. And Bengali is now declining, but once upon a time it was the culture of every household to buy at least 2-3 books a year, which is not happening, sadly. But slowly we are picking up. Very recently, I mean, in the 3rd, 4th and 5th, that the Odisha is going to have the first language conference organized by the government of Odisha, while these kind of things are happening in Karnataka and Kerala and Tamil Nadu. So many times I've been a guest sometime also long back. But fortunately, Odisha has produced very good writers. I'm talking about the present writers, like most of you must have read Manoj Das, Ramakant Rath, Sitakant Mahapatra, Pratibha Ray, and my mother Pratibha Satpathy, and many others. I'm just taking the names because, few names, because they are contemporary writers whom you must have read. And we have in translation Fakir Mohan Senapati, Gopinath Mahanti, those in English translation we have. But we do suffer from that kind of a limitation of going beyond the boundaries, but still then we are not, we are quite hopeful that we'll reach. And things are improving, many people are reading, and very good pieces have been written.
Yeah, that's quite illuminating. We covered both from Indian writing going out of the boundaries of the country and also within the regional boundaries, within the state boundaries. As you said, like even from when you take Telugu as a centric language, there's a lot happening between Kannada and Telugu, Kannada and Tamil, a bit of Malayalam and Telugu, but not from Odia. So there is like a lot of work we need to do, think about what can we do to take Telugu literature into Odia and Odia literature into and vice versa. So that would be quite, I mean, for the readers it would be beneficial, and yeah, of course as writers we too will get it. So my next question would be about, now we have touched upon the literary culture and the certain drawbacks, like we do not have the critical analysis and reviews that are coming in that create awareness. Unless someone wins a Sahitya Academy Award, then only we get to know, okay, so and so is writing so and so themes and subjects, and that is when we get to know, familiarize with them. So my question is about the role of awards. Unfortunately, Sahitya Academy is the one large award or one prominent award that is for all Indian languages. But I would like to, and that is the only language award. I hope there are many more awards that could fill in the gaps that we are having in understanding what literature is getting produced. My question is, how do you see the role of both Sahitya Academy Award and also other regional awards within the languages? What role does they play for in a writer's career? How does your writing life change after it? Or the kind of, because only after you get such an award will your work go into different languages, different readers will approach you and those things, right? So what are your thoughts on the award and basically support system for writers in our country?
The major problem in Telugu literature is the lack of readers. So there was a time when I began to write nearly 30 or 40 years back. There were a number of journals. There were at least 4 or 5 notable weeklies, 3 or 4 monthlies. And when I write, when one of my stories published in one small monthly, the people of all the corners of the state knew that, and they used to refer to it whenever they meet me or in some critical reviews or so. I am writing in the same pace, but now when the people come, they ask me, are you writing still? That's the problem. So the reason is that they don't read. Moreover, there are no journals. I think Telugu is the only language which doesn't have a single journal today. I think the only journal we have is Swati now. So we had at least 3 or 4 journals which were struggling to survive at one time. During the corona, in the name of corona, all those journals were seized, closed. We have only some Sunday supplements of the dailies and only 1 or 2 journals. So even then, the readership has become very, very small. The number of the readers is quite dwindling nowadays. And there was a time when the novels, when the books were published, the publisher used to publish at least 1,000 copies. Now the publisher is thinking of publishing 200 copies, 300 copies. So that is the situation here. So the situation is very, very alarming. We are in a danger. Telugu literature is in a crisis. As a writer, I want to tell you that Telugu literature is a crisis. Now every parent, every literate should make it a point to make his child to read. Not merely Telugu, any book. They have to learn how to read. Book is the only trustworthy friend in the world. Book is the only thing that can make the man man, that can make the man humane. So we have to realize it and we have to revise this. I'm sorry, that is one thing. And then there should be some kind of an encouragement like the prizes. So when a book gets an award, it will have some readers. That's the advantage that it has. So when a novel gets published, to quote the words of R.K. Narayan, it is very much like tying it to a brick and putting it in the river Thames. Unlike that, if a book gets an award, people will be curious. They want to read it. That is the difference. And awards are important only in that way. Otherwise, there is no other difference. And we have been writing in the same way. But book has the existence only when it has the reader. Awards will bring more readers to the book. That's the only benefit that we have. And in Telugu, we do have some institutions like ATA and TANA. They yearly conduct the prizes, and when the prizes are given, those novels are sold at least 1,000 copies, and so they are read by a wide range of readers. So that is the advantage, and then it gives writer a kind of a satisfaction to proceed further in the same direction. Otherwise, the scenario exists as it is.
Well, I mean, maybe Narendra ji has received it in 2022. The euphoria must be still on. Mine was in 2016, long back. I totally forgot how I felt. But yes, it does bring some euphoria. It does bring it to the notice of readers. Readers are curious to know what has been written. Is it a good book? Is it really something good that they should read? And Sahitya Academy, besides Sahitya Academy, I have been recognized in some other cases, for some other books. But Sahitya Academy translates the books, and the books go for a better circulation. But you know, being a writer, writer's life is very lonely. It is basically sitting in the corner of a room with a pen and paper in 2 dimension, then think. And what you write and how you write it has got nothing to do with any recognition you get eventually, whether or not. And when it goes out, it becomes the readers, and readers evaluate sometime. Sometimes it's subjective also. And yes, I would not deny that awards and prizes have their own place, but writer's space is different, and writers are basically marked by the readers. Because I remember when my first book of stories was published in 1997, I was as happy and elated as if my first child was born. And the kind of review it had received has still been imprinted, etched in my mind, rather than, all other things that had happened to me in literary scene after. So I guess, it is basically the journey of characters and themes and words all alone in a room or wherever we write is a more of our space than just being recognized once in a while.
So the resounding conclusion is that the book sales are dwindling, at least in a language like Telugu, and even otherwise not as much as our population should be reading. That is not happening. So that comes to the, I would like to put my question in around that area now. That, so it is very clear we can't earn a living out of it, not even a decent side income from writing books, but then we still write. And both of you, you have been a professor, you are an IRS officer, and despite that, how are you able to take time for writing? And you both have been so prolific and putting out quality work time and again for so long. So how do you get this discipline? What is your motivation, and how do you go about? Because like many of us want to write, even if we read or not, first we want to write and become writers, but we don't get that discipline because life comes in way. So what is your thoughts on or process about it?
So to be a professional writer in India is unthinkable. So we have to take up a job, otherwise we can't survive. So it is inevitable. That means that we have to travel in the 2 boats at a single time, which is not an easy thing. And that in that way we have been undertaking some kind of a circus feat throughout, as long as I was in the service. But fortunately, I was a teacher of literature. I'm a professor of English. So the profession is not different. The profession was an advantage for me in many ways, and a disadvantage also in the same way. Human element is always like that. Human predicament has both negative and positive things. The advantage is that I was forced to read the classics. Otherwise, I would not have read them. So a classic is a book which everybody wants to have read, but none wants to read, says Mark Twain. But I was forced to read the classics, and I was a student throughout. I'm called professor, but whenever people called me professor, inwardly I laugh at them, because I am always a student till now. So in that way, literature helped me a lot. And if I would not have been a teacher in the university, I would not have been like this, both in life and literature. That is the advantage. But the disadvantage is that many of you who come from the university know pretty well, there are many unacademic and non-academic things that we have to take up. There is no time to read. If you have to write a story, you have to live with it for at least a month. But the world intrudes. It is not easy to pick out a month to write a story. Thus, we could not write as much as we could. And writing a novel is completely unthinkable because it needs so much of leisure. But I got retired 4 years back, and now I am living blissfully. I am living with literature alone. I have nothing to do. I have not accepted any literary assignments. In a way, I have been immersing in the literature, and in a way, it is sometimes I think that I may be escaping from the realistic, mundane, political turmoil by immersing myself into the literature also. But in a way, it is comfortable nowadays.
Well, I envy Narendra ji. I'm an income tax man, bracket woman, and have been a student of economics all through. Inherited a bit of literature from my parents, both of them are writers, and had a big library at home, which was my den from childhood. So I live two lives, a woman's life, you know. Even if you work, you would have to do a lot of more of multitasking. I have lived two lives, one life with words and feelings and experiences, and the other life, you know, calculating whatever for my profession or for my um, bread and butter. But it is interesting. The journey has been interesting. There is a lot of, you know, kind of a struggle, kind of a confrontation and hitch. But I somehow, with God's grace, Saraswati Ma's grace, I have been working so far, and hopefully maybe another 2 years hence, I would be a free bard like Narendra ji, and looking forward to that. But you know, even if in a job you are in, it is because, you know, it's unthinkable for a regional language writer to be just writing and enjoy the life of writerdom in this country. But you know, your kind of thing which keeps you engaged for the whole day also gives you something. Nothing, no experience goes unexperienced, or doesn't, it's not that, that's not giving me something to carry back home and then think of it and then write. So it's going on like that.
Yeah, we are glad. I mean, those are like insightful answers for us to like also get disciplined about our writing and contribute to literature. One last question from me before we open up to the audience. What are your current projects, and what books can we expect from you both soon?
Current project. I don't know whether they can be called projects or not, but writing is a sadhana for me. It goes on. And there is no end to it. We know that perfection is impossible. Knowing pretty well that perfection is impossible, the artist strives for it. So thus it becomes a lifelong sadhana. But the themes may be different from one theme to the other. I told you about the novel Manodharma Paragam. In fact, that novel made me to think about myself. My great-grandfather migrated from a place near Chenji Fort, near Villupuram, to another place near Chittoor, which is also a small village, around 1850s. And he migrated to teach the villagers Telugu. They used to teach Telugu, and in those days, teaching means not merely teaching the texts, teaching them how to play the dramas also. So that is called Ata. They used to teach how to perform the plays. Most of these plays dealt with Ramayana and Mahabharata, and so he migrated. That made lot of difference. In fact, we were bilingual. I have completely lost that heritage. This novel made me to realize that I have to trace out my own roots. Thus, the novel, where the other novel concluded, I think I found a gem for a new novel. I have to trace out the journey of my great-grandfather, and the vast transformation took place in our lives afterwards, which is a very, very important thing. Tondanadu is a very, very important place. I think if I call it Tondanadu, no one would recognize it. Andhra Pradesh consists of such places, Palanadu, Tondanadu, and then Morasunadu. These are all the different places, old places, which have similar culture. Tondanadu has a unique culture. If you want to know which is Tondanadu, there is one simple way to find out. Whenever you visit a village in Tondanadu, you will definitely come across a temple of Dharmaraja. So they are Pandava worshippers. In Tondanadu, we have 18-day Bharata festival. where it is called Yajna. During the day, the Haridasu will tell the story. In the night time, the same story will be performed by the folk in the dramatic form. It's a great event, even today in our places, even today, even in Tirupati, Chittur, Villupuram, in all these places, you have this Bharata Yajna. They have a different culture, they have a different tradition. There is no enmity between Telugu and Tamil. Great music existed. Tiruvayuru, in Tiruvayuru, you have that great trinity. And in the same way, in Madurai, we had great Telugu literature. Ponniyin Selvan, all of you know Ponniyin Selvan. Maniratnam says that that is Tamil work. It is as much Tamil as Telugu. Tamil people drag everything, but we don't want anything. That is the problem with Telugu people. We don't have respect for it. Let us try to revive the culture. That is my task at present.
Well, just after writing that novel, she's had spoken about Abhipret Kal, about freedom, last part of freedom struggle. I was working on two story collections. One is titled Lockdown Diaries. You can understand what it is about, you know, the different lives in COVID period. The other is More Nityam. I just want to say a few words, few sentences on this More Nityam book. It is on the Panchkanyas, and I have added Sita, Sakuntala and Suparnakha to it. It is not rewriting mythology. It is extrapolating mythology on the lives of the common women. A common woman in the same situation, how she reacts to it, acts to it, and what the Panchkanya whom we say that they are so empowered, what they have missed in life. So in that sequence, I have written few of them, and the book in Odia has been published. Maybe next year the book is coming in Hindi and English. So that is what I am writing currently.
Hello, I have two questions for the two of you. Anyone can answer whichever suits for them. So my first question is, if you are aware of your current readership, can you just give me which section your works are more popular with? Simply because I grew up in Odisha, I'm an Odia, I can read and write and everything, but it's still very difficult for me to read a complete book in Odia, and in that span I can read like 10 books in English. So that's why I was wondering if you can give me any insights on who the readership currently is for your works. And the second question is, what is your take on the relationship between a writer and marketing? Because these days on social media, you can market your own books, but have you tried that, or what your take on it is? Because in a way, awards and even translations work as marketing, right? So where do you see that?
I will answer the first one, and yeah, because there is a guide to good books. Critical appreciation in Odia, since you are from Odia language, are less, but still then you can always follow what is being written well and all. And good that then through social media, a lot of advertising and all. I am not in any social media. I somehow could manage one the job and then writing, and then I thought maybe I'll keep it for a later period in life if I live up to that. But you get to know basically through the appreciation and all. And nowadays in Odia also, we have a lot of planning is there for the audio of the stories and books. For the new generation, I don't know about what happens in Andhra Pradesh or Telangana. I guess Telugu is compulsory till class 10. In English medium, no, not in English medium. Probably those things also should start, so that, reading something in mother tongue is your bliss and pleasure. So that should happen. I mean, many things have to be done in that way. Would you like?
So I'm not a right person to answer the next question also. Marketing is a different word, but look at the other factors. When a book gets published, I think the reader should know it, at least, that there is a book. So it is the duty of the publisher to get the book reaches the audience, the readers. That is first thing. There are many ways, there were a number of things in the past. In the past, there were at least book reviews. But book review was not merely a kind of blurb writing. It was almost a kind of a critical analysis. There were some great critics in Telugu literature whose reviews are published in the book form even today. Even the review, it may be very small but very perceptive. That is missing. The other thing, the readers should have some kind of discussion. I know that there are some groups in Karnataka. When a novel gets published, you can look at the YouTube. You can find many people discussing the novel. And thus, it becomes popular and it comes to the limelight. So, that is very much essential. And the reviews should be there, and then there should be readers. And that has become very, very difficult in Telugu literature.
And you young people can start a group like that, reviewing, then discussing books and all.
Yeah, one more question, ma'am, please.
Madam, as you rightly said, maybe one suggestion could be including the local language in the curriculum as a compulsory thing, at least until 10th grade. That is one part of it. But I think the content of the language as such, it needs to be rationalized across languages. People are now opting French and other languages for the children because they are easier to learn. They are more scoring, so they can take more time for sciences and math. That is one thing. And another thing, sir, as being passionate about the Telugu language, I would love to read books now that I'm at a stage of life wherein I have more time. But the thing is, the resources. There is Sundaraya Vijnana Kendram in Gachibowli, but then they don't give for issue. Now, I cannot go there and camp myself morning to evening and, they may have their own policies, but could you suggest resources wherein, we can take books on issue and, that way maybe readership would increase?
Yeah, that is an observation. I think one more question can we take? I think,
last.
yeah. Please, just one question.
Good afternoon, respected sir and respected ma'am. So we all see this dichotomy between English language and vernacular languages. But when we read the works of Mulk Raj Anand and Kamala Das, we see a very familiar India, even though it's in a foreign language. So my question is that, can a better dialogue be established between English and the vernacular languages, not through translation, but maybe through multilingual literary works?
Many things can happen, but we writers probably are not responsible for that, or can we do much on that? It all depends on you people who are young and growing. If the things conducive to you people can devise that.
Yeah, please keep your questions crisp and short, and please be specific about the question. Commentary, we can take it offline once we are off the stage. One more question. No, we are done? I don't think we have time.
Hello, this is not a question to the speakers, just I would like to share my experiences of writing books. Right. My name is Dr. G.P. Sudhakar. I am a professor of management. Basically, that is my background. Books are of different types actually.
Sir, sorry to interrupt because we can have the discussion offline. The next session is going to start. So if anybody has a question, crisp and short, very quickly, we can take one. Otherwise, we have to close the session.
Only I want to share what is the effort involved in writing a book with somebody.
I understand, sir, but the organizers are rushing for time.
Fine.
Okay. Thank you all for joining. Thank you, sir, Narendra sir and Paramita ma'am for such an enlightening session, and thank you all for being here with us. Bye.